So our next guest, he invites us to slow down. March Russell, he's a breathwork teacher. I've been working with him for 4 years. He overcame a personal struggle of going from anxiety, depression, lack of self-worth to really finding himself through meditation and breath work. That really then inspired him that he wanted to show other people how they can find their best selves. I think you're going to love today. I hadn't a clue about breath work until I met March, and now it's absolutely part of my life, and it makes such a difference for me. At the end of this episode, March has kindly offered us a 10-minute breathwork session. You're going to really love that session. You're going to get a sense of what breathwork is. I hope you enjoy the show. So March Russell, welcome to the Best Life podcast. We've been working together now for over 3 years as you are my breathwork teacher coach.
Yeah, it's a real privilege to be here speaking about it because, as you know, it has been my passion for over 10 years now. So it feels strange but exciting to be here speaking about it as my profession.
And what I really want to get across today is I do want to explore your story and how you became to be the teacher, but also I do really want to get across some of the benefits of breathwork because for me it's been, as I say, a game changer. Tell us about firstly how you got into it yourself, and I do want to go backwards. Why did you get into it? But just almost, what was the meeting point for you?
Meditation came first. Breathwork's obviously, or your breath is very much a part of meditation anyway, but breathwork in depth, extra depth, came along a little bit later. But the reason for getting into it was for my own personal struggles with anxiety, depression, loneliness, and to be completely honest, just a sort of debilitating feeling of lack of self-worth. And that hit me probably from the age of about 16 to about 22, being amongst the sort of craziness of university life. Like, it was inevitably a lot of fun until it wasn't fun. And that's when the anxiety, the depression started to kick in, because I think what I found is I was probably numbing myself, going to parties like 3 to 4 times a week, which eventually got ahead of itself. And we're all searching for meaning in some sense, whether it's for love, for peace, for truth, or whatever it is. But when we're stressed, I think we're often trying to find ways to relieve that stress. And I guess in hindsight, looking back at that time, rather than using ways like breathwork or meditation, exercise, or whatever it might be for you to bring me back into presence and look at what's going on deeper, I was getting carried away with the antics of university life.
Drinking,
instead.
drugs, and all of the above. Having initially a great time.
And then it eventually gets the better of you, and then you start to feel the depths of that anxiety coming on and the struggles that comes with that.
And I mean, did you at that point? Did you understand it?
Yeah, not at all. To be honest, I think it was more of a case of being in a bit of a trance. In a lot of scenarios, I was having fun, but I think it then does more damage than good eventually. And I guess at a young age, that can be somewhat confusing. My older brother, Leo, very kindly suggested that we went on a meditation retreat in the Pyrenees with this teacher called Bugs. And yeah, it was completely life-changing. It sort of felt like I was waking up from a dream that I didn't know I was having. And that was that time at university of going through moments of feeling down, but not really sure, knowing why or what it was, feeling disconnected from myself and from others, probably feeling quite numb.
So you did that retreat while you were a student, and then what happened?
I came back, felt very alive, felt a lot more coherent and calm within myself. But inevitably, your patterns come back, your habits come back. But it really woke up an interest in all of this stuff. So yeah, I continued exploring meditation in further depth before then deciding to go and explore meditation in India for about 8 months. It was. That took me to a variety of different retreats and monasteries around India, which was genuinely life changing. And I think the thing that really caught my attention was Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent retreat, and you spend 10 hours meditating every day, which is challenging.
And you're not even allowed to look at anyone in the eye, right? Is that right? No eye contact.
No eye contact, no speaking, no phones. So your dopamine is sort of nullified over the 10 days. And to be honest, that in its own right is very powerful. Vipassana's, although I wouldn't advocate it to everyone because it can be very powerful in someone who's experienced trauma, it can have adverse effects. But for me personally, it brings you to such a calm, quiet, and still space that you're able to sort of look back and feel into the sensation of past experiences. And they're teaching equanimity, so equanimity with these experiences. So if any sensations of discomfort pop up, you're equanimous to them to the point where they can dissolve and disintegrate. And that really was my first insight into this idea of impermanence and equanimity. So they explain that there's two different parts of the mind. There's the aversion to something, so it's pushing something away, and then there's the attachment. If you remain equanimous to this and you're not pushing something away or dragging something towards you, it then dissolves and disintegrates, and you sort of let go of that layer. We're, I think, very top heavy in our modern day life. We're very mind centric, and I think we've forgotten how to really experience life with our senses. So, for example, if I don't know if you've seen that video of a lion chasing an antelope, and the antelope gets away, and it will shake.
Yeah.
And in shaking, it's releasing the physical energy that experience held. And that is what a lot of breathwork techniques can do, is really learn to feel that and tune into your senses, and in feeling that with equanimity rather than pushing it away or feeling attached to it, you let go of it, and that sensation on a very physical level dissolves and disintegrates.
Let's chat about nervous regulation. Will you explain about how that works?
So we have an autonomic nervous system. It governs all of the automatic functions in our body, things like our heart rate, our blood pressure, our digestion, and our breath. So our nervous system is an intricate network of cells within our body that are communicating with the rest of our body how it should receive and deliver information. So if it's dysregulated, the way I like to think about it is our nervous system is the lens with which we view and experience life. And if it's dysregulated, you might be seeing everything as a threat. The problem is our nervous system is like a Stone Age software, but we're dealing with space age problems. So rather than, treating an email that comes in as something which might be an issue but that can be resolved, your nervous system in that response might fight it, run away, or it might freeze. But the problem is, in our modern life, is it's constantly overstimulated, that part of our nervous system. Whether it's a fight with a partner, late for a bus, in traffic, your emails, your daily stresses, that part of the nervous system is great in short bursts, but when we are constantly feeling that side of the nervous system and that side of the nervous system is constantly activated, it can have a damaging effect both emotionally, mentally, and physically. Whereas a regulated nervous system would be one that has a baseline of feeling safe and can return to this feeling of being at home in your body more easily.
So what people need to do is they need to really work with their nervous system so that it can come down into the normalized state
Yeah.
and not be up in the sky in like the red zone, where ultimately if you go above that, then you can start getting into panic attacks and a whole host of other stuff.
So yeah, we've got the sympathetic branch, which is known as fight or flight. But when it gets into overkill, we've also got dorsal shutdown. And that's the state which I felt I was in at university, which is when your nervous system can't hack it anymore. So it goes into sort of safety mode and shutdown so that it's protecting itself essentially. But we also have the parasympathetic state, and this is the state where we're feeling most sociable, most relaxed, and most at ease. And that state is known as rest, digest, and repair. So when we're looking at working with the nervous system, you're looking at, well, especially with breath work, you're looking at two different parts here. You've got the effective tools that help you in the moment to get to sleep, for example, but you're also looking at practices throughout the day to find your baseline and to practice returning to that baseline and feeling safe within your nervous system, feeling relaxed and regulated.
So if you, let's say someone comes to you and they say, right, I'm feeling stressed and wired,
Yeah.
and you're going to work with them to, let's say, regulate their nervous system and let's say bring them home to themselves, then maybe it's the themselves they remember as a child, happy-go-lucky, free, happy, everything good. How would you, what would you recommend? How do you work with them?
I really look at it from the point of view that I think a lot of us have this feeling of almost being homesick, and that's homesick from feeling at home in your own body. We're constantly quite stressed and running away from this present moment, which is constantly running away from your own embodied sense of presence. So I will work with them on an individual level to work out where they're at, but really to try and bring them into an embodied sense of presence and to a regulated and organized nervous system.
How does that look in terms of, okay, so I come along, what do I have to do?
So you'd fill out a form. Firstly, we'd have a 15-minute consultation. You'd then fill out a form, which you'd send to me. That would give me a good idea on where you're at and what you're also looking to get from these sessions. And I'd then create a bespoke program that would meet your needs and your time. And I think really the consistency is what's most important. So a lot of people try and take on way more than they can manage. So to begin with, it might just be something as simple as 10 minutes a day. But really what starts to take real effect is when you practice these 10-minute practices for over 4 to 6 weeks. And that's when you'll start to feel your nervous system becoming a lot more organized. But I really want to empower people to build their own resilience and flexibility within their own nervous system and feel empowered to do that themselves. So I hope although we work together on a weekly basis, you could very much so easily go away and do this practice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like,
I guess it's the accountability.
I turn up and I do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's lots of discussions that people should walk in nature more. Walking barefoot, or I saw a very funny post the other day. It was everyone's into kind of biohacking these days.
Yeah.
And it was kind of saying the real biohacking, and it had like a campfire with some food out in the woods, and it said, "This is biohacking. This is what your body wants.
The real stuff."
Yeah, your body doesn't want a load of pills, potion, lotions. It wants to do that.
Yeah.
So we've kind of moved away from our nature. Historically, 100,000 years ago, we were running around barefoot in the wild, and our nervous system kicked in when we needed to run. Yeah. Whereas now
it's kicking in
all day, every day, and I think phones are absolutely the worst.
Yeah.
Because every time they ping, bing, your nervous system just shoots up, right? So I think everyone needs to do something every day, a meditation, a walk in nature, a relaxation.
Well, you know what? we're setting up the day right, basically. We're training our nervous system to be in a state that we want it to be in rather than what the external world is sort of projecting towards us. And inevitable stresses and anxieties are inevitable in our daily life, and our brain and our nervous system is most susceptible in the first 5 minutes when we wake up and the last 5 minutes before we go
So
to sleep.
you would suggest then that people should do a breathwork or a meditation straight away.
Yes,
Wake up.
rather than
Don't pick up your
scrolling.
don't
Yeah.
pick up your phone. I mean, we need to. A great business I'd actually like to get into is actually alarm clocks, so people could not use their phone.
Yeah.
Just a simple alarm clock. Because that's the thing is, isn't it? Oh no, I've got my phone to wake me up,
Yeah.
and then just check that whatever.
Yeah.
And so actually, the first thing we should do is actually not that.
I think whether we know it or not, all of us are searching for meaning, and whether that's peace, love, truth, we're all searching for something. But in our modern life, when we get stressed and when we get overwhelmed, we're often searching for a relief to that stress. But when we're trying to find a relief to that stress, we're often running away from it. And that can be in varying forms, whether it's alcohol, whether it's keeping busy, whether it's becoming addicted to anything really. It could be sports or whatever it is.
Binge watching Netflix.
Binge watching
whatever,
Netflix.
TV, whatever, right?
Exactly. And I feel like a good metaphor to explain it would be like we're in this modern world, we're on this bicycle of trying to cycle away from that stress. But what that is often doing is we're cycling away from an embodied sense of presence, and we're cycling away from the here and now. And I think it's the here and now which is most important and most valuable. And I think it's in this moment where we can really find a relief to that stress, yet we are all cycling away from it. And this just brings me to the point of when we do then practice these techniques and tools, whether it's breath work or meditation, or I'm sure there are other tools out there that people like to practice to bring themselves into a more organized state. It's often done with the same attitude that people are bringing into their daily busy lives. So people will sit down and then be like trying really, really hard and white knuckling it. And what I mean by white knuckling it is when you clench your fists, you can see the white parts of your knuckles because you're tense and you're trying really hard to do a certain activity, but with the same attitude you would be doing in your daily life during these stresses. But actually, it's the total opposite. You need to be approaching this meditation and these breathwork practices by firstly just slowing everything down. And
So is location like a key part in terms of, a quiet room or a garden or somewhere where you just feel away from everything?
I think it would be a very good place to start. If you're prone to doing a breathwork session or a meditation in a rush and in a tense sort of manner, then I would suggest, setting up the space is very important. That said, I also find it very effective to put my headphones on and do a practice on the tube, and that's why it's so effective, because you can really integrate it into your daily life very easily, but I think it just needs to be done consciously.
So if I'm on the tube, I need to be aware, right, I'm on the tube, so I really need to get myself into the mental sort of disconnect from even the people around me. So the headphones are good,
Yeah.
and just almost
Just slow down
really
and just
just-
settle down
yeah.
and just allow everything to come down to a different speed and cadence and tune into that greater sense of awareness. I think when we're rushing and we're so fast the whole time, we are constantly thinking about the future. which is actually where I think you're sort of attached to these shackles. And I think what I'm practicing at the moment is to really just let life surprise you in the moment. And I think often with these practices, we're trying to get into the moment, but we're doing these practices to get into the moment whilst bringing that same attitude of sort of sprinting.
Yeah. And when you say let life surprise you, expand on that, because I think I know where you're going. And it's also stop trying to control it, right? Stop trying to
Yeah,
control everything. Just be a little more, right? Just
yeah,
be more.
yeah. An embodied sense of presence, just being in your body, free from the shackles of your thoughts of what might happen in the future, which I'm personally very prone to, which is probably why I'm so interested in it at the moment, which is rather than sort of future proofing everything and being absent from this present moment because you're thinking about what might happen or what could happen, you're actually scanning for threats and you're not soaking up the richness and the textures of your present moment. And I really think that's where the magic happens, the space between the thought and that present moment, which has the colour.
So my experience is I find regular meditation difficult.
Mm.
And all the meditation teachers say, no, no, that's all part of it. But what I find in breath work,
Mm.
I suddenly realize, oh, I'm in an absolutely 100% meditative state. Would you agree that breath work can bring you easier into that meditative state? Did you think so?
Totally. And that's what I find really, really exciting. I guess I'm coming at breath work from, I got into it through meditation. I love meditation, I practice it daily and have really, it's been my passion for the past 10 years or so. And I think it can bring extra depth that maybe breathwork can't bring. But I think what breathwork can do is, like you say, bring you into this very calm state where you can then take the right approach. So it biologically affects your nervous system. It has a physiological effect on your nervous system. It can activate the parasympathetic side of your nervous system. And that is where I think the skill with meditation comes. They talk about it from a relaxed sense of awareness. So you're deeply relaxed, but you're very conscious and awake. Whereas what a lot of people might do is start their meditation or try meditation from this stressed, heightened state and be trying really hard, but they're not relaxed. So you've got to relax first and then focus from that point with your meditation. And like you say that's what breath work can really bring you to that.
I mean, I found when we've done a session, and then at the end of an hour, which I was like, how could I do a breathwork session for an hour? That's going to
Yeah.
be really boring and really long. Time evaporates. It's hilarious. It's just bizarre. You're like, an hour already? But then at the end of that hour, when I'm stopping doing the actual breath work, I'm in such a meditative state. And then I can sit there and stay for 10, 15 minutes in this just clear space effortlessly. Whereas just to start meditating, as I say, I struggle because all these thoughts are going crazy. And I know that's part of it is within the meditation is watch the thought and then just say, one of the methods is just say, thinking, and then you let that thought go and try and come back to your breath. But at the end of the breathwork session, I don't need to do anything. I am just there.
You're in the meditative state. It's exactly what a client recently said at the end of the session. Oh my God, I could have stayed here for meditating for like hours.
Show me one. Show me just show me like one round of a calming practice that someone would typically do.
Breathing very slowly into your belly for 4 seconds, and then you could breathe out through softly pursed lips for 8 seconds. And this will stimulate your vagus
So just
nerve.
really slowly. So it's just
Really, really slowly. And if that's too much for you,
and that's pursed lips, right?
yeah, exactly. Almost as if you're breathing out through a very long straw.
That's 8. Okay.
And as you extend your exhale, think about your inhale like the accelerator to your nervous system, and the exhale is like the brake. So essentially what you're doing there is by lengthening the exhale, you are activating the parasympathetic branch of your nervous system, which is the rest and relaxation part of your nervous system. So I found that, firstly, probably the most empowering thing to know, and also making sure that you're breathing laterally into your ribs and belly rather than with your chest.
So you can kind of hold your rib cage here, right, and then make sure you can sort of feel it, can't you, when you
exactly
breathe.
Because what a lot of 70% of people who experience anxiety are upper chest breathers, and this is sending signals back to the brain to go into a more heightened sympathetic state. So we want to make sure we're breathing with our diaphragm, which does the opposite, activates the relaxation response within the body. So just making sure you're not breathing with your shoulders vertically, and instead you're breathing with your ribs laterally. You can almost imagine sending your breath deep down into the hips. So in for 4, out for 8. With some people who suffer from severe anxiety, they might find 8 is a little too much. They also might find that breathing in for 4 is a little too much. So you can just slow that down, breathe in for 3 seconds, out for 6.
And so that's something they should just do regularly. I mean, I heard that one of the British Special Forces, 3 times a day, they did like a 5-minute box breathing session just to keep their nervous system, because obviously they're very heightened, they're in a heightened state. So, I mean, effectively, your brain follows your breath in how it feels, right?
Yes.
So your breath's doing something, and it's telling your brain a situation.
It's constantly sending signals back and forth.
Yeah. So you can control. You can basically control how the brain's feeling just through your breath.
Yeah, I like to think of it like we've really got a key to our nervous system. We've got control over our nervous system because our breath is automatic, but it's also voluntary. So it's the one part of our autonomic nervous system which governs all of the other automatic functions in our body, which we can also control. So what does that mean? That means by directly slowing down your breath, you're directly slowing down your heart rate and activating a relaxation response within your nervous system. It's important to say that, like, some people might find box breathing tricky. If you're experiencing severe anxiety and you're an upper chest breather, it might actually be important to first focus on your breathing biodynamics, and that means the function, structure, and movement of your breath first, because if you're breathing up into your chest, you might find your breath's very tight. You might also find it is triggering to hold your breath for that long. So for someone that experiences severe anxiety, there might be a few more stages before that.
Here's the thing is when you take away, people who have anxiety, when you cut the anxiety out of the way, happiness is beneath that anxiety.
Yeah.
It's that simple, isn't it?
Well, there's just the quietness, I think, behind the ruminating mind.
Yeah. Or not even happiness, contentment, right?
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
And actually, peace is what a lot of people want. And this is what I find amazing is through breath work, it's there and you can access it. And that's what I had. I mean, I had some kind of burnout. I don't know what it was, but I had anxiety, and I heard people talk about anxiety. I never knew. I wonder what that anxiety is. It must be some kind of stress. And then once you have anxiety, it's like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah.
And it just, for me, it was the key.
Yeah, I guess you can also describe it in the way of brainwave states, like we're in our day-to-day in the beta brainwave state, which is our like busy thinking unconscious mind, and through breath work you can bring your brainwave states into alpha, which is slightly more conscious aware state, and even into theta, which is a more trance-like state, which is the state you're referring to here. And yeah, breath work can really bring you into that state where your thoughts, those incessant thoughts, aren't getting in the way of your experience. And from there, we can really look at life from different perspectives and get a very refreshing outlook on life. So you can have these moments with breath work which feel like big moments. They feel like moments which might be very insightful and bring in some wisdom, but then you also get breath work which I'm more drawn to, which is just that feeling of safety and that feeling of returning home and feeling super stable and grounded in your body.
Last week I went on a what's becoming more common these days is the men's retreat, and we did two very, very powerful breathwork sessions on the retreat, and it was quite interesting and both very different. There was two different teachers, and the first one, Leanna, she's amazing, and she is just this wholesome spiritual woman that holds a space and makes you feel so safe. And I had two absolute depths of deep crying in that, but it was very cleansing, I've got to say. One was related to my brother who died recently, and one was a happiness crying about my wife, which I was really excited to tell her at the end of it. It was like this
Awesome.
deep feeling of love and this gratitude feeling I had for my love for her, and it was bizarre because it was only in going into this deep state
Yeah.
that the clarity came to me on both. And I had a situation with my brother, and that was very cleansing and cleaning for me, and sort of.
Yeah, so I guess there are different types of breath work which are good for different people. There's functional breathing, which is good to fix any dysfunctional breathing in your body. It's good for pre-existing health conditions, also good for sports performance and recovery. And then we've also got nervous system regulation practices, we've got pranayama, and then we've got conscious connected breath work and other varying practices around that. Conscious connected breath work is a more mystical practice. It is a practice where you go into an altered state of consciousness, and as you say, should be very much so guided with a teacher that has the right credentials, has done the right training, and can hold the space in the right way, because it can bring some stuff up. That could be varying emotions from joy to sadness, tears. You can also feel physical sensations arise, and tingling in the body, vibrations in the body, and you can have very insightful experiences where you sort of let go of the weight that you might be holding to that experience. It's also important to say you might also go into a conscious connected breathwork session and not experience anything. Each experience happens differently from each session to each session, and yeah, you should really be working within your own window of capacity with that practice.
And what do you actually do? I'd like to explain. How do you get into
It's a
that
circular
state?
breath. Yeah. So it's
Do you want to show us? Do you want to show us that circular breath?
yes, but I just also want to say that if you're driving, don't practice this whilst you're driving, and also I would advise doing this with a
Yeah, with a
a trained
yeah,
teacher.
for sure, professional.
But yeah, it's an open mouth breath, and you're breathing into your lower belly, and there are no pauses between each breath. So you're breathing in and then relaxing out.
And how long do you do this for?
You can do it for anywhere between 5 to 50 minutes
Yeah,
to an hour.
I did one, where the teacher keeps on coming round. As soon as you stop, she's like, "Come on, more," and
Yeah.
she's literally looking over you, because there is.
You can do very long sessions with
Yeah,
it.
because your brain tells you, "No, I've got enough oxygen," right, and it wants to stop, and you
Yeah.
have to keep on pushing through that.
It can vary in length, and it can be a very long session, and it can really be a very insightful experience where you go to an altered state of consciousness, and the prefrontal cortex, this part of your brain, deactivates.
Because that's the boss of the brain, right? So that's the bit of the brain that tells
Yeah,
everyone
your
what's
day to
going
day.
on.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you switch this
Yeah,
dude off.
exactly. And then suddenly that's why time flies, and you're in a more subconscious trance-like state where previous things can pop up in varying forms.
I've heard some people have used breathwork as actually a therapy, because you get these insights that is
Yeah.
so the insights, are they just buried, in your opinion, deep in your subconscious? Because you do get such clarifying insights.
Well, I think it's just when you quieten down the mind and there's a stillness behind our thoughts. I think we're so mind centric in the modern day, especially, and we're so concentrated on what's going on in the mechanics of the mind.
Mm,
But there's, I think, something deeper there,
mm.
and that's what meditation and breathwork have really taught me. Is there's a lot more to explore and a lot more to learn, and that's what I find really fascinating. It's a ever evolving process, and I've been in it for 4 years, but there's plenty more to learn.
And it's going mainstream. So you're working with some quite impressive companies, from the likes of Tesla, Google. You've got a Netflix gig coming up, working together with BAFTA. Why do you think suddenly these big corporations are bringing breathwork into their sort of corporate setup, and how is that working? And also maybe how it's kind of coming more mainstream these days from something that was so left field.
I guess the first thing is to say it's backed by modern science, and I think that is a very good starting point. Like all these big universities, whether it's Stanford, Harvard, Oxford, they're releasing rigorous research into breathwork's efficacy, and it's come at a time when people are feeling more stressed than ever, really, and when people are feeling anxious, and companies are therefore looking at different ways to bring people into the office, manage their stress. So I guess these companies, it seems like, are just looking into different ways to combat that stress, to help their employees and to look after their well-being.
Have you done some work with some prisoners?
Yes, I've done some sessions with ex-prisoners,
Ex-prisoners.
so
And what was that?
rehabilitating.
Yeah, and what was the? I'm interested to know who was kind of wise and smart enough to bring that in, because I could imagine they've had a very stressful period. You know, they're in prison. You'd imagine super stressful. Then you're coming out, and then you have to sort of reintegrate into society.
I come in and do a bit of breath work, and we showed them a variety of different tools over the space of an hour and a half. And there was one comment from one of them which really hit home with me, which was, I think he said something like, I feel like I'm at the bottom of the ocean and all of the waves are far above me, and those ripples are the daily stresses of life. And I just feel like I've got some space and quietness from all of that. And that they really felt a very tangible sense of being free from the busyness of the mind.
So you're right in the thick of it,
Yeah.
building and creating your own business. Tell us a bit about that, about what gave you the guts to go alone, and tell us some of the struggles that you will, I know, because everyone who's running their own business has.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
It's definitely not and hasn't been a straight line. And I think that's also part of the beauty in it. I think if it had been a straight line, I wouldn't have failed and learnt half the things I've done. So I'm almost grateful for it. But yeah, it has been very tough. Like I built an app, put money into that, and on the back end, it didn't work. But yeah, when you're trying to set up your own business, I guess initially I'm trying to just be a good breathwork teacher and improve my knowledge, improve my professionalism, and make sure I'm delivering as good a service I can possibly do. And I guess that's one thing, but then you've got to learn how to market yourself, and that comes with the toxicity of social media. And then I guess your finances, and just the business part of it, how to position yourself, what to offer, bearing in mind you can do one-to-one sessions at companies, schools, studios, or set up an app or have some kind of online programs and courses. So I guess it's over the last 4 years, it's been a little bit of navigating all of that. But yeah, I feel very excited about what lies ahead because I've done quite a few courses recently, and I feel more clear with my direction with it all.
And what other sort of results have you had from people? So I think once you told me a story about someone who was suffering from grief.
Yeah, breathwork can be very helpful for grief. So, especially with conscious connected breathwork, I had a client who lost their mother and felt like he hadn't really grieved her over the 5 or 6 years or whatever it was, and found that these sessions were very empowering to really touch back in with those feelings and that grief and to really feel those emotions in a safe space. So, having suppressed them and pushed them away for quite a significant period of time, this practice sort of allowed him to have that space and to bring up anything he previously hadn't felt in a safe space and to sort of complete that stress cycle so that he can actually feel the full range of emotions. So although he might have been suppressing that emotion, in doing that, it also might suppress emotions of joy and other differing emotions. So what he
Yeah,
really
so he's suppressing all the whole basket.
yeah.
So let that go, feel the grief, then suddenly everything else can open back up again.
Yeah, which initially might feel like you're opening Pandora's box, but again, if you're listening to this and thinking of trying breathwork, I would just hugely recommend doing it with someone who's trained and can hold that space for you. Yeah, it can be a very, very powerful practice for anyone that's grieving.
Should everyone do breath work?
If you're drawn to it and if it sparks your interest, I would 100% recommend trying it. I would never want to push anything on anyone, but I think they should. I think, like with meditation, it just brings more presence, and with that presence, it brings more texture, more colour, more enjoyment to your life, more connection with yourself and others. It brings more autonomy, more purpose, and therefore I think more freedom and direction with where you want to go. Back in the uni days, I thought life was just happening to me and I had no control over it. And I think control is a word that needs to be used carefully here because you don't want to drop into unhealthy perfectionism, which I think a lot of these wellness tools might breed. I think it does bring more autonomy over your state, and it empowers you to really arrive back home in that grounded and calm state, and helps you to feel more alive and vibrant and more deeply connected.
You've often talked about people being on autopilot, just going with their lives, sort of without any thought process.
Yeah, and I guess myself included, it's so easy to get distracted by the ongoing mechanics of our daily life and get caught up in things. But I think what I often find in myself is we get caught up in being productive, achieving, doing, especially in the fast-paced life of London, that we are constantly future-proofing everything and looking ahead rather than ever sitting with what is in the current moment. And anytime we're doing nothing, we get bored and we will start doing our emails or cleaning or tidying up, and that we've forgotten to just be and to just exist. And I think that space in between those words, that space in between the busyness, is really where the magic happens and where the present moment happens and the here and now happens. And I think that is where we can get more awareness and more consciousness and be more present with what the sort of inner workings of our daily life, and take that moment to take ourselves aside and organize our nervous system and feel more in tune with what's going on, rather than being on autopilot and getting distracted.
I had a funny experience today coming on the train, and I'm going through the middle of the countryside, and I'm sort of there, and I'm thinking about things for today and everything else. And I looked out the window, and it was gorgeous greenery, and I just got truly into the moment.
Yeah.
Accidentally, if you know what I mean, because I was thinking in
Yeah.
thinking mode, and it felt so beautiful.
Light and yeah.
Yeah, it was really amazing. I was just like, wow, I need to get there more because I'm just, as most people are, just running, thinking, planning.
Couldn't agree more. And when you're present with yourself, but also other people, the sense of connection you have with yourself and others is incredible. Like I've just done this amazing course by Ben Bidwell, and it's called Heart Opening, Conscious Connected Breathwork, Heart Opening Breathwork. And a main part of that course was what he called becoming present. And we would split off into groups of 2 on the online program. And one of us would have to hold space for the other person, vice versa. And when you're holding space, you are just very present and connected with what they're saying, and you never interrupt. And the other person has 4 prompts, and it's I'm thinking, I'm feeling, the story in my head is, and I'm curious about. And what would happen if you were sharing is you would become so, to begin with, it would be very much from the mind, but as it would go on, you would very much so speak from the heart, and you would become so in touch with the sensations of what that feeling is. And it just felt so authentic and powerful. And because the other person was holding that space, you'd get as much enjoyment out of speaking authentically as holding the space authentically, that you two would just connect more than I've ever really connected with someone. And we'd come out of the breakout room and come back to the main group. And every time, everyone's face would just be a beaming smile. And I commented on that, and Ben was like, well, why do you think that is? And my take on it was just because everyone was so connected with themselves and each other, and that all came from presence, and not like trying to think about what we should reply, and not trying to think about what we should say, but actually just really soaking up the present moment.
And back to it, that's what meditation and breath work brings you more of.
It's the way of practicing it, yeah, and then integrating it. And I think the integration is just as important as the practice, because, you know, we can meet up in our hour a week and practice this, and practice coming into a calm, grounded state where you feel safe and at home and in your body. But if all of a sudden you're then just back into autopilot, you're who are you kidding? You're sort of fooling yourself. You really need to learn to integrate this, and that's why we've at times tried to introduce practices and tools where you might have breath breaks throughout the day, and try different challenges yourself to really bring yourself back to that moment of safety and presence.
Amazing. So thank you for being on the show, and I'm going to leave all of your detail in the show notes.
Yeah.
And I look forward to our journey as you being my coach and keeping me being the best version of me, which that's what breathwork does for me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real privilege.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. You always hear this on every podcast, but it really will help to get the best guests. Can you like and subscribe? Or if you love today's guest, please share it with someone who you feel it might resonate with. You've been listening to Best Life Podcast. Until next time, take care, keep exploring and living your best life.
Sometimes our mind simply needs a little space, a breath to clear the air, a moment to pause. So wherever you are, find some stillness. Let your shoulders soften. And if it feels natural, allow your eyes to close. Feel where your body is supported, the ground beneath you. the flesh and the muscles begin to just soften and melt around your bones. We'll begin today with a simple breath. 2 separate inhales through the nose, then a long sigh out through your mouth. So, breathe with me. Inhale slowly. Top it up. Long breath out, letting your shoulders soften. Good. Now continue at your own pace. Double inhales, long exhales. Relax your shoulders. Breathe deeply into your lower belly. Using your exhale to feel the sense of decompression in your body. A few more breaths here like this. Now allow your breath to return to a natural, easy rhythm. Quiet, soft. And notice your belly moving gently as you breathe. Rising on the inhale, softening on the exhale. And feel where your body meets the surface beneath you. Supported, held. Now we're going to introduce a gentle triangle rhythm. We're going to breathe in very softly through the nose for 5 seconds, holding softly at the top for 5 seconds, breathing out through the nose for 5 seconds. Breathing with me. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, again, inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, hold, exhale, breathe in, hold, breathe out, Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Continue at your own pace. Slow, even, unhurried. It's a soft breath, steady rhythm. Feel empowered by your own breath to ground you, to ease any anxiety or stress. Notice how good this makes you feel. Now let the counting fade. Allow your breath to move naturally again. There's no rhythm you now need to follow. Just breathing quietly, breathing naturally. Noticing the quality of your attention as you rest here.